Hello? Is there anyone out there? Is anyone listening? Welcome. This is Dear Aliens. This is the very first episode, and I am your host, Molly. Just a little bit about me. I'm a midwesterner living on the East Coast. I love Sprite, and I am a storyteller. Thank you for tuning in today to find out what topics make me want to get beamed up from this earth. First on the docket, renting and moving. Today, I am recording this episode September 1st in Boston, also known as the Moving Housing Games. It's literally the Hunger Games out here. Just today, since midnight, I arrived home after midnight last night. I saw someone moving into their apartment on the 1st at midnight on the dot. And honestly, I respect them for that. They really said, September 1st move in, I'm there. They said, I will not be competing for space. I will not be worrying about moving. Their neighbors may not love them, but they had the easiest move in probably out of everyone. I also saw a man dragging a trash bag just down the middle of a lane, opposite of the traffic, and everyone was just having to swerve out of his way. It's absolute madness out here. If you are from Boston, you are familiar with Star Drive, the accidents that happen there, and moving day makes people crazy. I'm pretty sure I saw people just blatantly diving into traffic. And it's not even just the moving process that is the most difficult. It's renting, just finding a place to live. Someone told me that on September 1st, over 60,000 people move into Boston. That is absolute madness. So even finding an apartment always feels almost like a miracle. When my original two roommates, when we were looking for our apartment, we were doing it remote for the first part. I was in Chicago, one was in Connecticut, the other was in New York, and we hired these two real estate agents, Chris and Chris, and we set up a day where the girls were going to go down with the moms. They're going to check out the apartments and FaceTime me in. And let me just walk you through what it was like working with Chris and Chris. There are three of us. We need at least three bedrooms. We were all right with one bathroom. So we plan a day. It's a Tuesday. The girls come down from the city. They drive like the 2.5 hours and they pull up to the first address that the Chris's gave us. And one kid, Chris, pulls up on a bike. There is no other Chris. The other Chris is not there. So at first we're like, okay, he's on a bike, maybe he's being sustainable for the environment, no problem. He takes us inside the apartment, the girls FaceTime me in, only two bedrooms. So we're like, oh no, I don't think this is the place for us. Like, we really need three bedrooms. And the one Chris is like, no problem. He was like, let's go to the next apartment. Like, I think you might like that one better. And then he has the audacity to ask for a ride because he came on a bike and we're in a car. Sir, you knew that you were doing multiple showings. You knew that you need to have transportation, and yet you chose to come on a bike, not even pull up in a Lyft, an Uber? So he crams in the car with the ladies. They drive to the next address. Yes, I'm pretty sure he abandoned the bike because we were not going to bring the bike. Next apartment takes us inside, two bedrooms. And we were like, sir, we know that there are only two of us here in person, but we very clearly explained that we need at least three bedrooms. And he was like, okay, yeah. He's like, I totally hear you. And at this point, we're like, do you hear us? Because it doesn't seem like we're on the same page. And he was like, no, no, no. He was like, I think you're really going to like this next one. And I said, girls, if there are not more than two bedrooms, do not call me. I hung up. They went to the next apartment. Do you want to guess how many bedrooms there were? 2. There was a very large closet in one of them, like what Harry Potter had in the first movie. So we actually thought, you know what, we might do this. We we might actually apply to this apartment where one of us is going to be sleeping in someone else's closet. Because the landlord was so cute, this little old man, there was a garden in the back. It was just a gorgeous classic house. So we were almost on board. But then we found a beautiful apartment. When I tell you we would have been right at home, it was the perfect apartment for us. And the Chris's are like, yeah, no, like it's gonna be great. So we day up, one of the moms puts down money. She writes a check so that we can start securing the place because we were like, this is the one. We love it. 8 days before we're supposed to move, we find out our application has been rejected because the landlords require you to have job stability for 6 months. We had just graduated 3 weeks earlier. 2 of us were starting jobs, but that did not matter. They were like, nope, sorry, you can't live here. So now we have 8 days to find an apartment. I start a new job over 1,000 miles away in 10 days. And one of my roommates is getting on a plane to go on vacation for over a week in less than 30 hours. I hope you can imagine the panic going through us. So we're like, we got to find this new apartment. We're not even thinking about the check that was written. We were just like, find a new place to live. So we find a place. We're like whipping through Zillow. My one roommate, she gets her application in. I get my application in. Before our third roommate can get the application in, we get accepted. Oh my goodness, we were so grateful. We literally just saw one video of this place and we were like, we'll take it. There's a porch, there's 3 bedrooms, there's a bathroom. That sounds perfect. No problem. We're there. So we get the apartment, and now we're like, all right, we're not working with Chris and Chris anymore. Let's, get the check back. Email them. They're gone. Call them. They're gone. And we're like, hey, we need the money. And then we get like this weird message that was like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And then we were like, okay, no money. Then we were just like, hey, we just want to get back in contact. We really need you to return the money. No response. It literally took one of the moms having to call her bank and have her check voided by the bank so that they could not steal the thousands of dollars. So, Chris and Chris, if you're out there, better not see you in the streets. That's all I have to say. Moving really should not be this hard. It should not be this hard to have a home. And then beyond that, it's like you scam around for a home, you finally find a place to live, and then what? There's no moving trucks because over 60,000 people are moving on the same day. We literally had to rent a truck from Connecticut and have it driven 2 hours so that we could move. There were no moving trucks, no rental trucks available for September 1st, over a month out before that date. Absolute madness. How will we recover? How will we recover? It's like, I can't imagine having to move every single year. And it's absolutely impossible. I think about having to move and I just go, oh, nope, oh. And that's the Midwestern in me. So before I came to the East Coast for college, I lived in the Midwest for 18 years. That's where I grew up. I was born there, elementary, middle school, high school. And living on the East Coast for the last couple of years has really made me appreciate some things from the Midwest. And it also helped me identify that Midwestern culture 100% exists. So if you were just Googling, if you pulled up Google and you just typed in Midwest culture, what comes up, it will tell you this is from Google, top search, friendly people, cheap land, and stress free. Clearly, an outsider wrote that. Clearly, someone who is not Midwestern wrote that. I just wanted to share some of the items that I think are quintessentially Midwestern because I feel like the three items above just really do not do the Midwest justice at all. So the first item that immediately came to mind when I was like, what cannot get more Midwestern? Jello salad. If you are white, maybe if you're black too, maybe if you're anyone, but I feel like if you are white, you especially know what this is. Jello salad. The Jello, Cool Whip, pineapple, sometimes nuts, all mixed together. And the only thing I can equate it to is when you scoop this dessert, and it's a dessert salad. When you scoop this dessert salad, it sounds like when you're crushing packing peanuts. And I hope that you guys can envision what I'm hearing because it's the most accurate sound ever. I will not consume Jello salad, but like, it's not Thanksgiving without Jello salad. If there's no if there was no Jello salad, I would be like, oh, who forgot? And that's another thing that is Midwestern as hell. It's the classic, oh, let me get by you. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to bump you there. I do not get through a single day without saying "ope" at least 5 times. It is a permanent word in my vocabulary. That goes along with the Midwestern goodbye. It lasts 25 to 35 minutes and it's an art. If you are not from the Midwest, you probably do not appreciate the Midwestern goodbye, but I feel like it's the Midwestern version of like, I love you. So, you turn to someone and it's like, oh, I think we should get ready to go. And that's just step one. And you sit there for like 5 minutes. And then you're like, all right, it's time to make the rounds. So everyone knows you're going to be coming around, giving everyone hugs, closing comments. Then you get to the door. You got to do the door chat. So you got a little door chat, maybe 10 minutes there. Then you got to do a little bit of porch chat, depending on how close you are. And then, you got your people waving by from the porch. And if there's real love, there's like you're getting into the car and you're hanging out, you're like looking over and it's like last words. You gotta call it out really quick. The Midwestern goodbye. That's what love is in the Midwest. But you know what Midwesterners love? I'm convinced. Tornadoes. We absolutely understand that tornadoes are dangerous. We understand that. But when you hear the sirens, that's like a Midwestern call to come outside. I will never forget when I was probably 16 and the tornado sirens were going off, and I had just gotten back from Wendy's. So I had the nugs, I had my Frosty. I was just trying to have an enjoyable moment. Sirens are going off. My mom's like, Molly, we have to go to the basement. And I go, I'm not eating my Wendy's in the basement. And then I walked outside and sat on the porch. And you know what? I saw at least 6 of my neighbors also outside on their porch, just chilling. We're watching Twister coming by, Twister touching down, Twister taking a couple houses, maybe right through the park. And we know they're dangerous. We absolutely understand that they're dangerous. But we're still going to go outside and witness it. But middle school, tornadoes seemed a lot scarier in middle school because it would always be like, you have to get under your desk. You have to like hope nothing happens. But middle school was torturous already. Can any Midwesterner vouch for presidential fitness? If that doesn't send chills down your spine, I do not know what will. Presidential fitness was the meanest workout that you had to do when you were like 12 years old. You're having to do the sit and reach, the jump and tap, the shuttle run. How fast can you run the mile? And you know what? I cannot run the mile fast. And I would like to actually make an admission right now. In the 7th grade, To my 7th grade teacher, I did not run the mile. I absolutely never ran the mile. I had my partner give me 2 sticks at a time, and I ran very slowly. So I ran half a mile in about 10 minutes, maybe 11 minutes. And I am not ashamed. I would cheat on the mile again and again and again. In high school, I faked having an ankle injury, so my mom would take me to the doctor and I could get my doctor to write a note that I had a twisted ankle because I was too embarrassed to run the mile in front of my classmates. And I was like, absolutely not. I will do anything to get out of this. And no regrets. Absolutely no regrets, because presidential fitness, that was torturous. We all deserved way better than that. And also, like, that's fat phobic. Like, don't tell me that because I'm bad at the sit and reach, like I'm overweight, or because I can't jump and touch something. I'm literally 4'8". I'm 4 feet 8 inches tall. Why are you upset that I can't jump and touch higher than 7 feet? Like, sorry, I'm not Michael Jordan. Like, we both wish. We both wish. That's another thing. As a Midwesterner, Bulls forever. Because you know what? The Bulls had Jordan, and Jordan will always be the MVP. Thank you. So, going directly left from Michael Jordan, let's go into the cornfield because, you know, corn is quintessential. It's the heart of the Midwest. It's a basis of the economy. It's knobs. It's corn. We all know the TikTok sound, but corn is near and dear to my heart. And I recently saw a TikTok of these 3 men who have a podcast, and they were talking about how America is appropriating corn by creating like esquite and street corn. Like, it's just corn. Like, we could just call it corn. It doesn't need to be fancy. And that's the thing about the Midwest. We love corn in all its forms. Corn forever, cornbread, popcorn. And we're not talking about your store brand pop it in the microwave. We're talking pop it on the stove, season it yourself. Like, we will make movie theater popcorn look like none the other. Keeping with the farm bias though, John Deere products. I feel like as a Midwesterner, it is my duty to keep my loyalty to John Deere. Like, John Deere or bust. Like, if I'm going to be driving a combine, it's going to be a John Deere combine. If I'm going to be on a hayride with a tractor, the tractor is going to be a John Deere tractor. It's just like, that's just how I personally feel. And maybe that's because I went to farm camp in Iowa. I don't think that that is, a Midwestern norm. Maybe it is. If anyone else went to farm camp outside of my people who we knew, people who were at farm camp, we knew we were at farm camp. But if anyone else who knows that they weren't at farm camp with me, but went to a farm camp in the Midwest, let me know. Farm camp in Iowa is, and it is one of my best memories, but at the same time, I did not belong there. I do not belong on a farm. I do not like farming. I don't really like touching dirty things or being in the dirt. But at farm camp, we were feeding the pigs. We were in the cornfield picking the corn. We were over by the barn having to put the corn through the shucks so all of the little knobs would come off super quick. Going over to the silos. You get your lesson about silos. Don't ever jump into a silo. They always say, it looks fun. It looks like when you see a giant silo of corn, you should jump in at the top. It'll be cool. Not at all. They made it very clear to us on the first day of farm camp that if you jump into a silo, you will not be making it out. You will suffocate because you will sink to the bottom of the silo because you weigh more than corn, which makes 100% sense. Gotta love farm camp. Also, because at farm camp, we were driving the combines through the field. And if I could just drive a combine every day, I think I could be content. I think I would like that. But then at the end of the day, I would need to drive back to the city. But also, I'm not willing to commute more than 20 minutes. So, a little bit of a bust. Tell me if anyone else did this, because I feel like if you were in the Midwest, you definitely did this. It was a field trip that you took in elementary or middle school where you would go and see baby cows be born, and then immediately after, they would give you ice cream. I remember this so vividly. I went numerous times in a row, and watching a baby cow be born is disgusting. It is awful. I'm already personally afraid, and I'm at the point where I'm like, I will never give birth to a person. That's just not for me. I will hire someone else to do that for me. But watching a baby cow be born is sickening. And then they just thrust ice cream in your hand immediately after, like that's normal. Oh, the Midwest. Ugh. And then I wanted to look up, like, what is a Midwestern trope? And what I came to find, the most popular one from all of my research was Olive Garden. It was like Midwesterners love Olive Garden. And I can attest to this fully. I was on a road trip in Tennessee with my friends, and we went on this day where we spent all day in this terrible river. There were rats, there were spiders. It was a whole tale. I may invite the people who are on that trip on to talk about it, because days upon days of just chaos. So we're on this trip, we spend all day in a river, and we finally get out and we realize we are starving. It is 6 o'clock. We have not eaten since 8:15 that morning. So we're like, we need to whip from this forest so quickly back to civilization to find food. So we're driving 80. We have no reception in these woods. We're just hoping we make it back to Pigeon Forge. We get there. We see an Olive Garden. We are filthy. We smell like freaking garbage. But we still go, we got to go into this Olive Garden before we starve to death. Olive Garden saved my life that day. It was the most delicious meal I've ever had. Unlimited. We all paid for unlimited, and we needed that. We needed to heal our souls. We needed to heal physically, emotionally, and mentally. And that's what that meal did. But one thing I always say, and this might be just because I'm a Midwesterner, any relationship I've ever been in, I've said, we're not official until you take me to Olive Garden. So this is a public service announcement. This is a Molly service announcement, an MSA. If you did not take me to Olive Garden when we were supposedly dating, we were never together. Sorry. Speaking of relationships, I was like, I once had a man send me a song, sometimes multiple songs a day. Every time a song made him think of me. Our relationship was only like 4 months, maybe. Do you know how many songs he ruined? There are so many songs that I cannot listen to. And that kind of feeds into like the last thing that I want to talk about today. And it's ruined music, because yes, it's like you could have someone who constantly send you songs, or like when you're in a relationship and someone is like, this is our song, and then you break up and you're like, well, now I can never listen to this song again. You know who ruins music unlike any other? Kidz Bop. The first ever Kidz Bop album came out in 2001, 22 years ago. 21 years ago. I cannot do math. You'll come to learn that very quickly. I cannot do math. I got the very first Kidz Bop for Christmas one year. And my adolescent brain was like, whoa, these kids know how to write songs. I thought that the children singing the songs on Kidz Bop were like the producers. They were the ones who wrote the songs. I thought that Kidz Bop was just all these kids who knew how to write bop after bop. Can you imagine that? just want to take you through some of the items that I thought these children wrote. Let's start on the very first Kids Bob. First of all, it was a 2 disc special, so you know they came out hard right out of the gate. All Star by Smash Mouth from the movie Shrek. I was like, wow, these kids. All the Small Things by Blink 182. Oops, I Did It Again by Britney Spears. What a Girl Wants by Christina Aguilera. At this point in my life, I had no clue who any of these people were. I was in a tunnel. I only watched PBS, Animal Planet, and Bulls games. So I was out here and I was like, the song That Don't Impress Me Much by Shania Twain, Blue Dabba Dee Dabba Da by Eiffel 65. I was like, these kids, I was like, I'm not sad like them, but I kind of want to be. Now, as someone who has depression, absolutely not. Like, I'm Blue Dabba Dee Dabba Da. Like, that gets you right in the heart. I thought that a child wrote the song Kiss Me by Sixpence None the Richer. The Kiss Me, the song at the end of like every rom com for so many years. Yeah, I really was like, yep, a child wrote that because I hadn't seen any movies at that point outside of a handful of Disney movies. And by that, I mean Cinderella. I tried to watch Beauty and the Beast and I got too scared, so I had to stop. You know, just a very sheltered childhood. And then immediately after I got the Kids Bop 1 CD, my birthday was a couple of months later, and I got the Kids Bop 2 CD. It's the 20th year for the Kids Bop 2 CD. And at this point, I still knew nothing. So I was like, Kryptonite by Three Doors Down. That child who wrote that, I thought they were a genius. I did not realize that Survivor by Destiny's Child was not written by a child. What would a child be like? I'm a survivor. Like, what are they surviving? We're 5. I mean, some 5-year-olds, they are here literally just trying to survive. But that song's a little too deep for me to have thought a child wrote that. It's Gonna Be Me by NSYNC. Come On Over Baby by Christina Aguilera again. Let me hit you with the 2 ones that really bring you down bass. Who Let the Dogs Out by the Bahamut. And I should have put 2 and 2 together because at this point, I feel like I had seen the Rugrats movie. I don't think that Rugrats in Paris had come out, but I feel like the first Rugrats movie, the one where like they go in the jungle and like Jill gets lost, that movie is incredibly upsetting. So I think Who Let the Dogs Out might have happened in either that one or the one where they went to Paris. But I just really feel like a child could not have written that, and I should have realized that no matter my age. And then finally, and this song has hurt me way too many times in life, Hero by Enrique Iglesias. And if you know me and you're listening to this and this song hurts you immediately too, you know why. You know why. Times were dark. I had a funny childhood, and maybe I'll talk more about it because it was a lot of laughs. And the older I get, the more I realize how funny and partially abnormal it was. But at the same time, it was a total drain. So I think I'll dive into that more in future episodes. But this is all I have. So thank you all for tuning in to the very first episode of Dear Alienz. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you laughed, chuckled. I hope maybe I even just got a giggle out of you. And please tune in again. And if you're listening up there in space, my address is 123 Sesame Street. I'll be in a purple sweatshirt next to the lamp pole.